Chapter 4. The Mediterranean Crossing Without Kamau. Staring into the abyss of the Mediterranean, my heart ached with the absence of Kamau, my pillar of strength. The once inviting blue waters transformed into an unforgiving expanse, ready to claim dreams and lives alike. Each wave was a reminder of the distance between us and the perilous journey that lay ahead. Crossing the Mediterranean was a gamble with fate, a treacherous passage that promised no safe harbor on the other side. As our boat rocked and swayed, I felt my resolve waver, but the fire of hope burned fiercely within. This is the story of my lonely crossing of the Mediterranean, an odyssey marked by the haunting absence of my beloved Kamau and the ceaseless pursuit of a dream that always seemed just beyond the horizon. Come, immerse yourself in my tale, and feel the salt spray and the sting of separation as we navigate through the stormy waters of this perilous journey. The year was still 2022 when I found myself on the edge of the Mediterranean, my heart heavy with the separation from Kamau. The vastness of the sea seemed to mock the despair in my heart, its rolling waves a grim reminder of the perilous journey ahead. Our boat was nothing more than an overcrowded dinghy, a vessel ill-suited to the harshness of the sea. There were too many of us, all desperate souls hoping to escape the horrors of the past and fearful of the unknown future. As we set sail under the cover of darkness, I clung to a picture of Kamau, a last-minute gift he had managed to sneak to me before we were torn apart. The journey across the Mediterranean was a brutal one. We battled unforgiving winds and monstrous waves. Our fragile boat tossed around like a toy. The cold was biting, seeping into our bones, and the constant spray of the salty sea stung our faces and eyes. Some days the sea would fall eerily calm, a sinister tranquility that was more terrifying than the most tempestuous storm. People fell sick, their bodies too frail to handle the harsh conditions. There were no medical supplies, no help. We could only watch in helpless despair as fellow travelers succumbed to their ailments, their dreams of a new life dying with them. The feeling of utter helplessness, of being at the mercy of the sea and the indifference of the world, was overwhelming. I clung on to hope, whispering prayers for Kamau and myself. I found myself staring into the horizon, straining my eyes for a glimpse of land, of rescue. There were days when I wanted to give up, to let go of the struggle. But each time, my hand would instinctively clutch at Kamau's picture, the smiling face in the worn-out photograph, reminding me of the promise we had made to each other. The indifference of the world was as stark and chilling as the sea around us. We were mere statistics in the growing refugee crisis, our lives reduced to faceless numbers in news reports. It seemed the world had chosen to look away, oblivious or apathetic to our plight. Yet we held on, driven by desperation, by hope, by the need to survive. After what felt like an eternity, land came into sight. Cheers erupted around me, tears of relief flowing freely. We had made it across the Mediterranean, but the joy was bittersweet. For every cheer there was a silence, a life lost to the sea, a dream drowned. And for me there was an ache, a void where Kamau should have been. The year was now 2023, and as I stepped onto the shores of Italy, a new chapter of my journey began. I had survived the horrors of Libya and the unforgiving Mediterranean, but I was alone, Kamau's fate unknown, our future uncertain. As I was herded into a detention center, my heart clung to the hope that Kamau was safe, that our paths would converge again. Until then, I had to endure, for both of us. I found myself navigating the labyrinthine streets of Italy, alone and terrified. The euphoria of reaching land was short-lived, replaced quickly by the cold, hard realities of life as an illegal immigrant. After days spent in the crowded detention center, I was released, turned out into the streets with nothing but a warning and the clothes on my back. The Italian authorities were overwhelmed, their resources stretched thin by the influx of refugees. In their eyes, we were a problem they didn't want to deal with, a nuisance to be tolerated at best. I tried to find work, knocking on countless doors, pleading for mercy, for understanding, but the response was the same everywhere I went. Cold refusals, disdainful glares, doors slammed shut. The local populace, besieged by their own economic struggles and weary of the influx of refugees, met us with hostility and apathy. Language was a major hurdle. I could not communicate my desperation, my need. Every interaction was a struggle, fraught with misunderstanding and frustration. But I persevered, picking up words and phrases, determined to not let language be yet another wall between me and survival. Life in Italy was a far cry from the dreams I had harbored of Europe. The picturesque streets and grandeur of the historic cities were overshadowed by the harsh realities of life as an outcast. I lived in fear, constantly on edge, wary of authorities, and at the mercy of the occasional kindness of strangers. Throughout it all, the uncertainty surrounding Kamau's fate weighed heavily on my heart. I had no way of knowing if he was safe, if he had made it across the Mediterranean. Every news report of a refugee boat disaster sent a jolt of terror through me. But in my heart, I clung to the hope that he was alive, somewhere out there, searching for me just as desperately as I was for him. Sleep was a luxury I could rarely afford. I spent my nights in abandoned buildings, huddled together with other refugees. The cold Italian nights were long and unforgiving, and sleep, when it came, was filled with nightmares of the horrors I had endured. Despite the hardships, I kept going, driven by the promise Kamau and I had made to each other. I tried to gather money for my onward journey, working odd jobs, surviving on scraps. The streets of Italy were cruel, but I had seen and survived worse. By the time the summer of 2023 was in full swing, I had managed to save just enough for the next leg of my journey. My aim was clear. I had to reach England. In my heart, I felt Kamau would head there too. I was no stranger to the ruthlessness of human traffickers by now. I knew the risks, the cost, but there was no turning back. My journey, as terrifying and lonely as it was, had to continue.
This is chapter 4 of a 6-part short story. The easiest way to watch or listen to the other 5 parts of this story is to either subscribe to the Romance Diaries on YouTube or click on the link in the description below. If you subscribe to the Romance Diaries, you can also enjoy other stories of love, romance, heartache, cheating and betrayal, and by clicking on the notification bell at the same time, we can let you know every time we bring out a new video. And if you would like to experience your own real-life romance, why not click on one of our sponsors, which you will also find in the description.